Hey, okay, we're live, and again we're just continuing where we left off. Last time I was working on the displacement map, and hopefully we can finish working on the wrinkles and skin details so we can export the map and start doing some renders to see where we're at. Alright. So let's focus on the references. And this time I think we can start working with Geometry HD. And it's really simple. I'm just recording everything in the same layer as wrinkles, and then if you remember we had one layer of Geometry HD, and to activate that Geometry HD we just have to hover over the model, make sure the cursor is right on top of the model and where you want to work on. So for example, now I want to work on the lips. So I'm hovering the mouse on top of the lip area, and then on my keyboard just pressing A. And then it takes a few seconds. And now we have our Geometry HD enabled for that specific area. Hey Whiskey. Yes. It's Paco de Lucia. So every time you switch into Geometry HD, you lose access to your layers, but you can make new layers. And then layers that you make inside Geometry HD won't be accessible after you deactivate or disable Geometry HD. So keep that in mind. Also, the same is true for morph targets. So every time before I start working on Geometry HD, I store a new morph target. So if I make any mistakes and I want to roll back, I don't have to use the eraser. I can just use the morph brush to undo my brushing. Erman, was there a lot of intervention when you were designing Autotalk? Because I know your line very well and the design did not satisfy me the way it should be. Well, I'm sorry to hear that, but it was a commission. I didn't have enough freedom. They just gave me their concept and I just did what I was told to do. Okay, so I'm just looking at the reference and then I simply copy what I see. So for example, you can see we have two parallel lines. One here, and I'm using the custom brush for which I named my standard, but it's not. It's just I showed you the profile for the alpha. You can just make it yourself. And I forgot to share with you. Hopefully after this stream I can put the file inside the same folder on Google Drive. The best artist I've ever seen. Thank you, Leslie. I loved all your portraits. Love from India. Thank you. Hey Tapan. Hey Tentacle Man. Hey. Now I'm adding these lines, but the reference I'm looking at is slightly younger compared to the age that we're trying to get. But because we have a limited number of references, we just have to work with what we have. I mean, ideally, all your references should be from the same age, but the conditions are not ideal right now. Hey Agib. I just want to finish working on the displacement so we can move on and finish the character hopefully and start working on something new, because it's kind of getting boring too. Only work on one character. Okay, I'm happier with this side. This side is kind of doesn't look very natural, so using the morph brush to undo some of the changes. This is where the morph target that I told you is coming handy. Let's also turn on, remember, draw size per brush, so when we switch to a different brush, the size doesn't change. Hey Minzy, I'm a beginner in ZBrush. Suggest me the course you think you would do if you were a beginner. I mean, the one that's recording right now. If you go on my YouTube channel, you can start watching from the first live stream. And this one is the 20th session, so I have 20 different live streams from a start, which was likeness sculpting in ZBrush, and then exporting from ZBrush, importing to Maya, working on the hair, and right now we're working on the textures. But if you mean like somebody who's never used ZBrush before, who doesn't know anything about 3D in general, I would say any course would do, because it's just a software. You're just trying to learn the basics and fundamentals, so it doesn't really matter. I mean, Linda has some basic training courses for different software, and I think their courses are very well explained and easy to understand for beginners. You know, Linda, Pluralsight, Noman, or you can just Google something and find a beginner course on YouTube. It doesn't really matter, because it's just button pressing. It doesn't take much to learn a software, in my opinion. What details change the most when working with references of varying ages? I gather that they are more wrinkly with age. Yeah, I mean, the most obvious one is the skin details, the folds, skin wrinkles, because the fat under the skin is shrinking with age. So the skin on top has less support, and that's why it gets damaged with age. But it's not just the skin. I mean, the bone structure, the facial structure remains almost the same, but it also depends on the subject and the individual, because some people, you know, have different health conditions, strokes, you know, things that, or just weight loss, weight gain, things that affects their appearance. Or surgery, if someone has had cosmetic surgery. These are the things that you need to consider when working on a subject, and you need to study the subject. You need to learn about the health conditions that they had, if they had any surgeries, if they have lost any weight, any noticeable weight, or gained. And for practice, you can compare some of the actors, compare their photos from their when they were younger to the present. Compare the changes to see exactly what happens to a human face with age. Hypixel Oracle. Do you use a scan data for these high frequency data? A scan data, I mean, other than the texture in XYZ, I don't know if it's considered a scan data, but depends what you mean. If you mean a scan of someone's face, like the surface or the structure of the face, no. But if using blueprints for skin details is also considered a scan data, then that's different. This is fascinating. As a mannequin collector, I've always wanted to a grayscale sculpt. Thank you. I've worked on grayscale. I don't know if you have seen my renders of Grace, but yeah, she has a very interesting face. That I enjoyed working on. What value did you set on the displacement map intensity? I mean, if you go back, watch my previous live streams, you can find the answer. I don't really remember. I mean, I'm recording everything exactly for this, so you can go back and rewatch. Thanks a lot. I will surely check those. And also, what is an optimal time, like the time a beginner should take to learn and start working on ZBrush for freelancing? I mean, depends on your target. I don't really know. It really depends on you, how much time you're willing to dedicate to learning, and also how committed you are. I honestly don't know how to answer that. Please learn expert render in Maya Arnold. What is expert render? Are you available for subcontract work? You can email me. If you go on my profile on Instagram and click on contact, you can find my email. How long did it take you from when you started making characters until you felt that you were very good at creating hyper-realistic characters? I never felt that I'm really good at making characters. But I started in 2017, 2018. And I worked on around maybe even 100 different likenesses. but honestly, I've never felt that I'm really good at it. It's just, I mean, you get better, of course. You do anything for 100 times, you get better. It doesn't really matter how complicated it is, but I mean, still, it is very challenging to me. Okay, let's also add, let's carve in this line. There's a deep, I don't know if it's a scar or a wrinkle. I mean, it looks like a scar. You're one of the best indeed. Thank you, Spanru. If you don't mind, can you provide a roadmap for ZBrush beginner to advance? What are the steps of the things that I should learn to be a professional character artist? You just have to practice, practice, and practice. That's it. Just turn on your computer, install ZBrush, and let's start making models. That's your roadmap. Have you ever worked for games? No, I haven't made any real-time character. But I worked in a cinematic trailer for a video game. It was one of the recent cinematic trailers for Call of Duty. That's I worked on the main character, but it's a different model. The model that they use inside the game engine is not the same as the one they use for the trailers. But I always enjoy working on photoreal characters more than real-time or video game characters, because when you're making a model for a video game, you have to do so much optimization. It has to be low poly. You have to do hair cards. There's so much you need to consider in order to optimize and, for the game to consume less resources. But when you're working on photoreal 3D character, you don't have that those restrictions and limits, so you can just go crazy. You can use as many polys as you want. Hey, you post the same comment on YouTube and Instagram, so I mean, I see both, so you don't need to. I want freelance work. You can just contact me via email. You can just send me an email. Hey, Art of IMB. Okay, let's also add this line on the chin, and then we can move on. And work on the forehead and the eyes, and then I also have to show you how to export your maps, because exporting displacement maps from ZBrush is a bit tricky. Now adding this line, which is pretty clear inside the reference. Also, don't make your wrinkles and lines too deep. Don't exaggerate. One of the very common mistakes that beginners and even intermediate artists make is that they tend to exaggerate. So for example, when they see this shadow, highlight and shadow, they just want to copy the same intensity on top of the model without taking into account the lighting, because lighting right now is different. The model has a different lighting compared to the reference, so you need to keep that in mind when working on likeness, working on displacement maps. I mean, we can't just try to copy the same lighting. I think it's gonna be something like this, perhaps. You can see, for example, here the line looks relatively stronger. So that's why if you don't pay attention to the lighting, it's easy to misjudge and make this mistake. Is that Bruce Willis? No, it's Paco de Lucia. Hey Render Studio, could you mention at least 2 other digital character artists and 1 traditional sculptor that you admire? Two digital. I'm thinking. I think for digital sculptors, probably I'd pick Chris Costa and Marco De Luca. Traditional, I don't really know that many traditional sculptors. You mean traditional contemporary, right? Not like some obvious ones like Michelangelo, Da Vinci. I think you meant modern day artists. If that's what you meant, I don't really know that many traditional sculptors. When it comes to realistic rendering, do you think you could get the same results of realism with Blender cycles compared to Miles Arnold? I don't know, I've never worked with Blender or cycles. I've worked with Arnold, V-Ray, and Octane, Redshift, but I don't think really anything comes even close to Arnold. I'm not saying it's not possible, but it probably takes more time and effort to have the same result.
Gotta get out of here tonight.
Okay, let's move on to the next area, which is the forehead. So to activate the Geometry HD, once again you just hover over your model and then press A on your keyboard. Takes a few seconds to turn it off, and now we want to have the Geometry HD for the forehead. So I'm hovering on top of the forehead and pressing A once again. Thank you, Mo. Alright, once again, before adding any details, save a new morph target. Using the same brush. Just trying to find the right reference. I think this one is the best one. Also, let's increase the intensity from 6 to 8.
Long for a place that they never find. I'm afraid I wake up when I die, and it is too late to climb any mountain. Time is of the essence, the blood running through our core. It's best to not feel sorry when it's over. I will be the greatest that you've ever seen before, and I'll stay eternal. Don't go to plan, I kinda lose my mind. I hope it's real. This life comes around.
I live for another 20 minutes, so if you guys have any questions, you can ask.
It's best to not feel sorry when it's over. I will be the greatest that you've ever seen before, and I'll stay eternal. Eternal.
I think some of the details are lost. I have to, for the forehead, I had to go back to my photo projections and to see, because right now it's kind of hard to follow what's going on. So let's shift our focus on around the eyes, and let's add more depth for the crow's feet. How can we get freelance projects? You just have to post your artwork everywhere, on every social media, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, ArtStation, ZBrush Central. Just spread the word, promote yourself to let more people see what you can offer, and then also make it easy for them to find you. So anywhere you post your artworks, have your contact info, for example, email, phone number, somewhere on your profile. And then you just have to keep posting, and eventually more clients will reach out to you. Or you can just search for freelance projects. I mean, there are jobs listed on ArtStation, for example. Some of them are freelance projects, or for contracts for a specific time period, so you can contact them instead. I mean, for people to contact you, you need to have a big platform, so it's not that easy. if you're a beginner, I think it would be easier for you to contact your potential clients. Can you speak Persian? Yes, I live in Iran. I can speak Persian. But right now, people from different countries are watching. So that's why I'm speaking English so everybody can understand. Thank you for a project of Beethoven and Chopin. Greetings from Poland. Thank you. Mitz. Sorry, Polish names are really hard to pronounce. But yeah, I mean, Chopin was one of my most favorite subjects that I've worked on.
Deep in the dark, down on my knees, I've seen things that you wouldn't believe. I was lost until I found that I'm invincible. Nobody gon' bring me down. Here we go. I'm invincible. Nobody gon' bring me down. That I'm invincible. Nobody gon' bring me down. All my hope was fading away. I'm not gonna make it to the end of the day. I was lost until I found that I'm invincible. Nobody.
I don't think we can finish working on the displacement today, but I will show you how to export your map, and then later we can come back and add more details. But right now I think it's more important to go back inside Maya and then have some basic renders of the skin, so we can see whether or not we should make the skin details, the skin pores and wrinkles stronger, or maybe they are too strong. We need to tone down the intensity, but we need some clue, we need some at least a few renders to make sure that we're doing everything right. And for that reason, I'm going to show you how to export a map, and next time show you how to make shaders, Arnold shaders inside Maya, and then we can just circle back and sign off on different levels, like the likeness, the skin detail, the hair, and finally we can move on, work on the clothes, work on some of the gadgets and accessory like the guitar. Alright, let's turn off Geometry HD, and then I have to check the forehead. The forehead is... some of the lines are lost. I have to check to see... Okay, let's switch the material to skin shade. And then turning the poly paint on and off to see where I need to add those lines. Okay, let's add one here. Okay, now I think it's much more clear what's going on. Hey Mahdis. Guys, if you have any questions, shoot, because I'm live for maybe 5 to 10 minutes. Okay, I think we're good. We can just go back. All right, let's turn this layer off and record in wrinkles, turn the polypaint off, switch back the material to basic, and then go back to Geometry HD for one last time, so we can just make some of the forehead lines stronger and then export the map. Can you tell us how much time do you take to complete any model? Depends on the model, but 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 2 months. But it's usually 2 to 3 weeks. Okay, for now I think it's good. We need to come back and complete the displacement map later, but for now let me just show you how to export the displacement map. So first let me save so I don't lose my progress. Okay, in order to export your map, you need to know something, because if you go to your multi-map exporter and turn on displacement, export option, map size, make sure it's 8K, flip V, map border 4, in export options, displacement map, you need to have the subdivision level 1 set to 1. Adaptive needs to be enabled. DP sub peaks, it's 4, don't change it. A smooth UV, no, we don't want that. Mid value needs to be 0. If you're rendering with Arnold, that needs to be 0. And 32-bit, and the format needs to be EXR scale 1 intensity. So don't change anything, just make sure all your values are the same as mine right here. But before you export, you need to make sure that you're setting your morph target. What I mean is that let's turn the wrinkle from toggle off the recording, and then if I export right now, what happens is that not only ZBrush exports the skin details, it also exports the data that you've lost with subdividing. So when you subdivide the model inside ZBrush, the model loses some of the details, some of the forms. It gets smoother. It's not subdivision is not in ZBrush is not like other software. I mean, in any other software, subdivision is procedural. It doesn't affect the lower subdivisions. It keeps the forms. But in ZBrush, when you subdivide, you lose some of those forms, some of those details, those primary details. So when you export your displacement map from ZBrush, ZBrush also accounts for that lost data. But we don't want that, because the file that we have for the likeness and the file that we have for the displacement map are separate. We're working on separate and likeness in two different files. So any primary detail or primary form that we lose inside the displacement file doesn't matter. We don't need to account for that in the displacement map. And to make sure that ZBrush also understands that, you have to just make a morph target. So delete your morph target. This is what you need to do. Delete your morph target and make sure that you are in your lowest subdivision, the subdivision that you have inside Maya, which is the subdivision 0. And then in your lowest subdivision, click on Store Morph Target, and then click on Switch, and then click on Import. So if you remember, I told you that we need to make a backup of the OBJ file that we imported for the displacement inside ZBrush. If you go back and watch my previous live streams, you can see that I told you that you need to make a backup of this OBJ file. So this is where it comes handy. After you import, you're importing that file that we backed up. Did you see the difference? If I click on Ctrl Z, you can see that when you import the map, import the OBJ model, it reverts back to the original model. It doesn't. So to let ZBrush know that we don't want those lost data. And after you import it, you can just go back to Z plugin, multi-map exporter, and create all maps. And then the format is EXR, and just click on save. And it takes a few minutes depending on your PC specification, but it usually takes maybe around 10 minutes or 15 minutes. Do you feel that making a short hairstyle is more difficult than making long hair? I personally face issue when I make short hairstyle. Yeah, because when you're working on a long hair, some of those mistakes get hidden inside the volume or the puffiness of the hair. But when you're working on a short hairstyle, it's harder to hide those errors and mistakes. So yeah, I understand what you're saying, but if you know what to do, it really doesn't matter whether it's short or long. For me, it doesn't make that much difference. But I understand why you're saying that it's more difficult. Okay guys, it's just exporting the map. I just wanted to show you the trick so you know how to properly export your displacement map in ZBrush. But probably takes about 5 to 10 minutes for me to export the map. So if you guys don't have any questions, I'm just ending the stream. And next time we're going back to Maya to, as I said, work on making new shaders, to have some test renders. What is your approach to make likeness models? Just go back to watch my first live stream. Do you prefer XGen or Houdini or her system because XGen crashes? Definitely XGen. But I don't have that much experience with Houdini. But I'm pretty comfortable with XGen. And yeah, you say it crashes a lot. Make sure that when you're working with XGen, you save your project frequently and also never undo. When you're working with XGen, do not press Ctrl Z. It's just a shortcut to crash. Okay guys, that's it for today, and next time, I'm not sure if this week I'm going to have more live streams because next week I'm a bit busy and I have an exam I have to prepare for. But the week after that, I'm probably going back to doing daily streams. So make sure you're ready. If you're following the course or workshop, you make sure you're ready to start working with Arnold. Alright guys, have a great night or day wherever you are. Thank you for tuning in, and I will see you next time.